Democrats, Republicans, people out there, knows that this president has brazenly taken over our agencies and wanted to determine the interest rates singularly by himself. Everybody knows that they have bent to the president his choices for the heads of these agencies, the Justice Department, the Federal Reserve, the SEC, on and on and on. Stop hiding the truth. Stop ignoring the truth. It is getting very irritating.
Before we even dive into the full video, my blood pressure is already up. We've all seen the regular clips coming out of these committee hearings, but the level of absolute theater we are getting from the left these days is reaching a breaking point. You've got Maxine Waters up there doing what she always does, waving her papers, raising her voice, and pretending she's the ultimate guardian of the Constitution. It's the same old playbook. Turn up the volume, yell about the president, and hope nobody notices you aren't actually making a coherent point. But what caught my attention in this teaser is how Chairman French Hill just sits there. The man is a rock. He doesn't look rattled, he doesn't look angry, he just looks like a tired parent waiting for a toddler to finish a temper tantrum. Honestly, seeing a conservative leader actually hold the line and refuse to be bullied by the loud microphone tactics of the establishment, it's exactly what a lot of us have been begging to see. I want to watch the whole thing play out from start to finish, because if the rest of this video matches the energy of the intro, we are in for a clinic on how to handle political grandstanding. Let's roll the take, watch the full clip, and then we're going to break down exactly why Maxine got exposed here. Let's get into it.
And when you come talking about you want to do something about changing the mandate, is that what the president asked you to do? Are you following his orders? Because that's what he determines, that he wants to run all of these agencies. I am going to stop being nice about these issues. The fact of the matter is, your bringing this up today helps to focus on what this president is doing. I'm sick and tired of it. Americans are sick and tired of it. He does not own this country. He's the president of the United States of America. He does not own all of the federal agency. And what he has done to try to eliminate Powell is absolutely unconscionable. And we've got to stop it. We've got to stop this president from acting in this manner. And members of his party, I think it's time for you to step up to the plate and deal with this issue in a real way. And so you go after reform because you want to remove the mandate. Give me a break. That's not a real issue. Deal with what the president is trying to do to Lisa Cook and to Powell right now, because he thinks he owns the Fed. He wants to determine interest rates. He doesn't give a darn about the Constitution of the United States of America. And so I ask all of the members on both sides of the aisle, step up and do what you were elected to do and defend these agencies, and I yield back.
Let me say, the Fed is not immune from criticism, and Fed governors and Fed chairmen are not immune from criticism by the executive branch or the legislative branch, and we all know that. We all know that's absolutely true. And let me say, when we think about intimidation, how would you like to have a Fed chairman called to your personal residence and then shoved up against the wall and told, if you don't cut interest rates, I'm going to fill in the blank? Lyndon Johnson, William McKesney Martin, 1960s. Yeah, he's dead. Lyndon Johnson's dead and Martin's dead. You're right, Madam Ranking Member. But the point is that there have been attempts by presidents in the past, Truman, Johnson, Nixon, Reagan, others, to criticize their Fed chairman, even the Fed chairs they appointed, because they disagree, and that's, their right to do that. I don't think they should resort to intimidation. I don't think they should resort to the kinds of actions that we've seen over the years.
Will the gentleman yield?
I will not yield, and
Did they call for an investigation?
I would say yes, Madam Ranking Member, but I'm not engaging in this. I'm going to simply respond that there are attacks on the Fed, some quite crass, rude, investigatory, and threatening by former presidents. I don't support that either in American history, and I don't support it now. But the point is that it happens. And in this committee, we have the right to oversee the Fed, and we have the right to criticize the decisions taken by the Fed, which is why I created a monetary policy and treasury market structure task force to do exactly that. Let's thoughtfully look at—
Will the gentleman yield?
I will not, Madam Ranking Member. That is why we have a monetary policy task force to look at the oversight of both the Fed structure, the Fed monetary policy since the financial crisis, and I'm grateful to the ranking member of that committee, Mr. Vargas, for his outstanding participation in that subcommittee or that task force and its work. But I have to say that while the Fed can be criticized, in my view, this committee stands for Fed independence. And as I've said, from Truman, who threatened, he brought the whole FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, to the White House to tell them he disagreed with them in a public meeting, to Mr. Johnson's treatment of Martin, to Mr. Nixon's intimidation and investigations, using that word, on Arthur Burns, to President Reagan's tough conversation at the beginning of the 1984 campaign with Mr. Greenspan. This is the world we live in. But you also referenced that the DOJ has closed their criminal investigation into the Federal Reserve building investigation. I applauded that when it happened, long overdue, and turned it over to the Fed IG. And I'm glad you, as an individual member of Congress, conducting your own oversight responsibility, met with the Fed IG on that. They're rightfully looking into it. And this is a place where the committee, the House Financial Services Committee, the Senate Banking Committee, can review what we learned from that Inspector General investigation, looking through all the ways and means and causes and effects of this enormous renovation program down on Constitutional Avenue on the part of, so we'll see what the Inspector General report is. That's certainly in the oversight capacity of this committee and that of the Senate Banking Committee. I yield back to my friend.
I would just say that the criticism, if President Trump built the Federal Reserve building, the criticism would be outrageous.
Wow, just wow. Talk about a complete and utter backfire. Maxine Waters went in there looking for a viral soundbite, trying to play the hero of the federal bureaucracy, and French Hill gave her an absolute masterclass in political history instead. Let's talk about Maxine first, because her performance was just painful to watch. She gets up there talking about how she's going to stop being nice. Give me a break. When has Maxine Waters ever been nice? Her entire brand for the last decade has been grievance, shouting, and telling people to harass political opponents in restaurants. Now she's up there pearl-clutching, acting like the sky is falling because a president dares to have an opinion on interest rates or wants to hold executive agencies accountable. She screamed about the Constitution, about how the president doesn't own the country. But here's the reality she completely ignores. The executive branch is supposed to oversee these agencies. The American people elect a president to run the government, not to let unelected bureaucrats in the deep state run wild without a single shred of accountability. But to Maxine, any attempt to rein in these federal agencies is an existential threat. Why? Because those agencies are her partisan playground, and she knows it. But the best part of MAGA French Hill shuts down unhinged Maxine Waters right to her face is how French Hill completely dismantled her entire narrative without even raising his voice. When she kept trying to interrupt him, demanding that he yield, trying to snatch the microphone back, Hill just shut it down. I will not yield. Boom. Simple, firm, and entirely within the rules. He held his ground and didn't let her bully him into giving up his time. And then he drops the history lesson on her, and you can practically see the smoke coming out of her ears. Maxine is trying to claim that a president criticizing the Federal Reserve is some kind of unprecedented, tyrannical move. So what does Hill do? He lists the receipts. He brings up Harry Truman dragging the entire FOMC to the White House. He brings up Lyndon B. Johnson literally shoving the Fed chairman against a wall in the 1960s to demand lower interest rates. He talks about Nixon, Reagan. Every single major president in modern history has clashed with the Fed. By laying out the actual historical facts, French Hill proved two things. First, he proved that the president's actions are completely in line with American political tradition. Second, and more importantly, he proved that Maxine Waters has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. She's so blinded by partisan bias that she forgets, or just doesn't care, that her own party's historical icons did things 10 times more aggressive than anything we're seeing today. It was a beautiful thing to watch. Hill stood up for congressional oversight, defended the committee's right to look into the Fed's monetary policy failure since the financial crisis, and completely neutralized her attempt to turn the hearing into a circus. He used logic, history, and pure composure to leave her standing there looking completely empty-handed. That is how you handle the noise, folks. You don't scream back, you just lay out the facts and let them expose themselves. But hey, that's just my take on it. What do you guys think? Did Hill handle it the right way, or are you as tired of the grandstanding as I am? Let me know in the comments below.